In this video and in the next few videos, I'm going to be demonstrating a variety of tools and techniques that you can use in creating your own original expressive self-portrait. These exercises are not meant to be your final project. Rather, they're intended to give you some experience in navigating the Tinkercad user interface. So in your class Tinkercad account, we'll choose our copy. And remember, whenever you want to make a copy of your original scan, click on the gear icon and choose duplicate. But for now, I'm going to work on my existing copy, and I'll click Tinker This. To center your model on your screen, click on it, and then on your keyboard, tap the F key. That will bring the focus of the screen on the model that you've selected. Now, to rotate around the model, as I'm doing here, on my keyboard, I'm holding down the Control key and then tapping and holding on my touchpad of my laptop computer so I can easily scroll around. You're going to want to master this technique because you're working in 3 dimensions and you're going to frequently need to rotate around your model to see what it looks like. Okay, so we have a bunch of basic shapes that we can utilize, and we'll certainly do that in time. But I also want to make sure that you're aware that there are many other subcategories of shapes. Some of these will be appropriate for your projects, others won't, but do take the time to go into each category and look at the shapes that are there. Notice at the bottom, there's a More Shapes tab, and I can keep clicking that to get more and more shapes. So you can see you've got individual letters, a whole kind of random variety of things. And if I choose the next category, creatures and characters, same thing. There's all sorts of random pre-made shapes that you can use. And on down the line, vehicles and machines, structures and scenery, hardware, electronics, fun and games, everyday objects, and featured collections, and also shape generators. Shape generators don't look particularly different, but they are. For instance, I'll just grab this shape that looks like a cylinder, but when I do so, you notice that I've got this odd-looking settings window. And in fact, what I can do here is grab this point and drag it and extend that out, and you can see what the shape is doing. And then I can grab these round circles as well and expand or contract, and I can create a very highly customized shape that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise with the standard geometry of many of the basic shapes. So this is useful to know about, but I'm not going to use that. Right now, what I'm going to do is, I know that there's a lion shape in there, so I'm going to search for that, and then click and drag it out, and that looks good. Now what I'd like to do is put my face on the lion. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut this face off. And to do that, I'll go back to basic shapes, and I'm just going to pick this box, click on the lion, and tap the F key so that it's in the middle of my screen. Now I'll click on the box to select it, and I'm going to use this black arrow here to lift it up. I'm going to look from the top. To make this whole operation easier, the first thing I'm going to do is choose orthographic mode first. That'll look straight down on the object. Click, drag the line over here a little bit, and now I'm going to use this arrow to rotate it so that it's facing straight front. That'll make it easier to align things. Now I can grab this box, move it back over, rotate around to see what I'm looking at from the side. I need the box to be a little bit bigger, so I'm grabbing this white controller and lifting up to increase the size in that direction. And again, from the top, I'm going to push that back a little bit further. It looks about roughly correct. I can always undo if I need to, but for now, I'm going to click and drag to select the lion and the box, but not myself, because I want these two shapes to be joined. So I'm going to come up to the top and click Group. Okay, so I've cut off most of the face of the lion. Now I need to prepare my face. Let's see, the easiest way to do that is probably to look at it from the top and the front, and notice I'm using the orientation cube in the top left corner to make those macro moves. So looking at this from the top, I'm going to again click out a square and extend it so it covers the whole bottom of my model, and extend it up because I want to cut away all that material. And at the same time, I want to cut away most of the back as well. So I'm going to bring out another box, and let's say about that much. And again, I'll extend it up so you can see what's happening. What's going to happen here is I'm going to cut away most of my scan. So I'll click and drag to select those three shapes and group. So there's the face. That might be fine. I might need to cut away a little more, but before I do anything else, I want to move this over and get a sense of what it looks like. Need to drag it up a little bit, look at it from the top. And now to move the model, I can click and drag it over. You can also use the arrow keys on your keyboard. So if I arrow key to the right, or to the left, or to the back, or to the front, and the distance that your selected model moves is determined by the snap grid at the bottom. So each tap of the arrow key will move over 1 millimeter, but you can change that. You can move 5 millimeters at a time, 2, 1, 0.5, 0.25, 0.1, or even turn it off, and then it will just very slightly nudge it. So you do have control over how much distance the model moves. I'm going to tap the F key to focus in on that. Okay. Looks a little big for one thing. So with the Shift key held down on my keyboard, you can grab any of these white boxes and click and drag to resize. So let's say about that. Lift that up. Try that again. Let's see, make it a little smaller. Lift it up. Getting closer. I have this flat part on the bottom, so I might want to do something with that. But for now, I'm going to leave it there. Maybe what I'll do instead is just rotate this a little bit and then use the arrow keys to push it back. Ooh, that's looking better. Normally, you don't want to change the relative dimensions of your face because it will distort it. You want to resize by holding down the Shift key and enlarging or shrinking your model so everything changes proportionally. But in this case, I'm going to use this black control here and just pull out my face a little bit just to extend that out. So now I can push that back in maybe a little bit, increase that. That's not bad. Could spend more time, fiddling with it to get it more perfect, but that's basically what I was shooting for. So we'll call it good. Now to join those two shapes, I'll click and drag to make sure they're both selected. And you can see that I've lost my controls at the top. That's okay. If that happens, you can just click at the top to go to the previous page and then go back into Tinker This, and it will bring you back to your model. So again, I'm going to click and drag to select both of those shapes and click Group. Notice that they didn't change color this time, and that's because multicolor is selected up here. So I'm going to go ahead and click that and click yellow to make sure that they're both the same. So I know that that's a single model. I'll click on the shape, click F to focus, come back around, move it toward the middle. This model looks good for now, so we'll change the name, call it Lion, click Export, and STL. And when we look in our Downloads folder, we see the model that we just downloaded.